Terrariums from indoor gardening, artificial lighting, terrariums, hanging baskets, and plant selection. Prepared by Henry M. Cathey and Lowell E. Campbell. Coffee Break Collection 33, Gardening. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. Terrariums. Select plants which are compatible as to growing media, light, and moisture needs. Clean all foliage, and scrub surfaces with vegetable brush to remove dust, disease, and insect debris. Healthy plants must be chosen if the terrarium is to thrive. The container chosen for the terrarium must be both clear and waterproof. One can use candy jars, aquariums, condiment or beverage jars, or bottles of any size. Wash the container and remove all labels and traces of the previous contents. Allow them to dry completely before beginning the terrarium. Remember that all things that go into the construction of a terrarium should be dry. Leave all items out to dry at least overnight. This will make assembly of the terrarium much easier and permit quick cleanup at the end. The following items will be necessary to create a terrarium. 1. A container. 2. Coarse sphagnum moss for bottom layer. 3. Pasteurized potting mix. 4. Cuttings and rooted plants. 5. A long stick of pencil diameter to handle plants. And 6. A wash bottle. When all material has been assembled, do the following. Put a thin layer of moss on the bottom of the bottle, firm with a stick to make a slanting base. The depth of the layer depends on bottle size. 1/2 to 3/4 inch is usually deep enough for most bottles. Put at least 1/2 to 3/4 inch of potting mix over the coarse moss. Use stick to level and firm up the structure of the potting mix. Select plants and try to blend their shape, foliage color, and height. Carefully remove most of the potting mix from the plants. Trim all roots 2 to 3 inches, and remove all diseased or damaged foliage or branches. Group the plants outside the bottle first to decide on arrangement. Use stick to guide each plant into the bottle. Fan out the roots on the potting mix and shift dry potting mix over them. Firm them into place with a stick. Tap and shake the bottle to force the growing medium to shift down between the foliage. Starting at the back of the terrarium, add one plant at a time, firming all plants and media into place with a stick. Move the foliage and branches around to face in one direction with the stick. Working slowly, use stick to slide pieces of ground moss or painted gravel into place to cover the bottom of the bottle. Make sure all surfaces are still dry. It should be easy to move, place, and clean up inside of the terrarium. Wash the terrarium by using a wash bottle or a thin plastic tube. Allow water to flow down the inside of the bottle. Gently and slowly moisten coarse moss, potting mix, and covering. Do not sprinkle foliage or add so much water that you can see water standing in the bottom. If the terrarium is put together properly, you should be able to tilt the terrarium to allow the excess water to drain out. When the terrarium is finished, place it in a cool, lighted, shaded area. Leave top off the bottle and allow all surfaces, foliage, media, bottle, to thoroughly dry. To clean sides of the bottle, use paper toweling on the stick. Look for damaged or dying leaves and remove them. Leave the bottle open for several days to correct the relative humidity. Place top on bottle, but do not seal. Sealed bottles will cause plants to rot. A slight exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide is necessary for the terrarium to survive. Display the terrarium by placing it anywhere in the naturally lighted area of the home. Do not place it where it will be subjected to direct sunlight or near a heating or cooling duct. To render the bottle scar-proof, paste a piece of felt on the bottom with rubber cement. Terrariums require little care. If everything has been done properly, then a balanced environment will have been created, and water loss will be minimal. Signs that the terrarium needs water are foliage that crinkles at the edges and bottom moss that turns from dark to light brown. As before, use wash bottle or fine tubing to flow water down the sides of the bottle. Remember to add water until all surfaces are moistened, but allow no excess water to stand in the bottom of the bottle. Turn the bottle upside down to permit all excess water to drain away. Do not fertilize the plants at first. Fertilizing promotes excessive growth, which will rapidly fill the bottle. After 6 to 9 months, add regular houseplant type fertilizer, using at least 1/4 of the concentration recommended for ordinary houseplants. Eventually, plants will overgrow the space allotted them. When this occurs, chemically prune the tips of the plants by touching the growing point with a swab dipped in rubbing alcohol. Only the tips will die after this treatment, and side branches will develop. One should expect no more than a useful life of 1 year for plants in a terrarium. Poor plants should be discarded after this period, and the remaining plants used again in another terrarium. Plants that make good natural groupings in terrariums are cacti and succulents, native understory plants, and small-leaf houseplants. Do not mix types because they have different media, water, and light level requirements. Easy-to-handle plants are begonia, bird's nest fern, boxwood, calathea, Chamaedorea palm, chlorophytum, the spider plant, Euonymus, the creeper, Phytonia, Gynura, the velvet plant, Hedera, the English ivy, Hemigraphis, maidenhair fern, Maranta, the prayer plant, Peperomias, Pilea, the aluminum plant, Scindapsus, the devil's ivy, Tradescantia, and Zabrina. End of terrariums.